All right, ladies and gents, DarksydePhil here, and welcome to a very anticipated event. Today, per years of requests, I am going to react to my very own Down the Rabbit Hole video, a video that was put out in June 2017, and over the course of almost 5 years have garnered over 6 million views on YouTube. This video is how a lot, if not most people on the internet know me. They haven't watched my content. They don't know who I am, but they saw the Down the Rabbit Hole video. So it makes sense for me to watch and react to it because it's what most people have heard. Now, this is going to be a little different. I've only done 2 react events before this. One was for Rings of Redemption and one was for a random thing called the Final Fantasy House. Unlike those, okay, in this case, this is something that I have obvious insider knowledge on because it's about me. Obviously, I've already watched the video. I know all about it. I know what it covers. It's only 30 minutes long, so it really tends to gloss over a lot of topics that basically could really benefit either from elaboration, context, or both. And that is really why I feel doing this reaction to it is going to be very meaningful. At the same time, please understand that I know everything in this video because I lived it, all right? So it doesn't make sense to expect that I'm going to be shocked or surprised by anything in this. I will not be. However, I will be able to give you my honest feelings about what it was like living through those times, some background to a lot of it, and I feel like this is going to be very interesting to those who liked. If you liked this video, hopefully this React project will be very interesting to you. Okay, now a couple quick things. I've now done this a couple of times, and I know some stuff that's going to happen. First of all, so you guys can see, I have 2 setups that I can alternate between. So we'll be watching it like this, but every once in a while, if I want to pause to elaborate, then I'm going to switch over to this setup. Okay, but also, I am wearing neck phones. This is what I use to listen to audio on my content, and you're going to hear an echo. It's not going to be a horrible echo, but you are going to hear somewhat of an echo. It's unavoidable. When I'm playing gameplay, you don't usually hear it. When it's only spoken word like this kind of stuff, you do. There's really no way around it. I can't wear headphones because I get ear infections, so it is what it is, okay? In addition, there are going to be people who are going to be contributing during the course of this event, and I will be stopping to shout them out and add them to the leaderboard, so understand there will be some interruptions during it once I start. Please bear with that, all right? All this will be available on demand on DSPGaming, my YouTube channel, after the fact. So if you can't watch the whole thing live, check it out. Or if you're already watching it on demand live, thanks. Some great ways to support this kind of content if you enjoy it. You can become a channel member. You can like the stream. You can like the video itself. You can leave a video comment to let me know your thoughts on this type of content and if you like it and if you liked this particular one, how it's very different from the others that I've done because it's about me, right? You can do a super chat or a super sticker if you're here live on stream, or you can leave a tip. Something new, super thanks. If you're watching this on demand on YouTube after the fact, you can leave a super thanks on the video to get a highlighted comment, and it also helps support the channel. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Thank you in advance to anyone who contributes in any way during the course of this event. So, a couple quick shout outs to do. Shout out to I Am Kazam, who just became a channel member. Thank you for that. And shout out to Cracker Jacks, who did a $30 tip. Obviously, the biggest tip of the day so far. He says, congratulations on 1 year. Incidentally, today, I am celebrating my 1-year anniversary of coming to YouTube and doing content full-time on here, as opposed to previously where I used to split my efforts between Twitch TV and YouTube. For a year, I've been exclusively on YouTube, and this is a big, marathon celebratory event I'm doing today. So, if you're wondering why people are saying that, that's why. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get started. All right? With Down the Rabbit Hole, DarksydePhil, prepare for many pauses, because I know I'm going to have a lot to say. Ready? Woo, hold on to your butts on this one. Here we go. Thank you to Shia, who just re-upped their membership. Congrats on 1 year. Thank you, Shia. Oh! Now, hold on. I might have to go back because this guy's face is so hideous. I want my audience to be able to see for the rest of their lives. So we might have to actually block out the video for a second here.
Of the internet's content creators, there are few so controversial as Philip Burnell.
Now, right off the bat, there are few so controversial as Philip Burnell. honestly, I don't see myself as controversial. I see myself as someone who they've observed a lot of stupid things I've done, a lot of misfortunes I've had, and they like to make fun of me. I mean, even calling me like a lol cow, like a lot of people do, I can kind of understand that categorization. I don't understand calling me controversial. Like, what exactly is it that I've done that's so controversial? You know? I haven't been out there talking about crazy politics, leaning left or right. That kind of gets me. But anyway, let's continue.
Better known online as DarksydePhil, styled with a Y. He sports a respectable number of subscribers, over 180,000, but the more notable figure
180,000. Now, this video was made in mid-2017. So interesting to note is that right now, in 2022, I only have 198,000 subscribers. Why such slow growth is because I abandoned the channel in 2017 to become a full-time Twitch streamer. And that's one of the reasons why it's been a hard time trying to build the channel back up. You know, I basically dropped it for 4 years and only came back to it a year ago, which caused a lot of stagnation.
is his number of uploads and their frequency.
Here we
Since
go.
2008, he has uploaded tens of thousands of videos, usually 10 to 20 minutes long, and he still uploads more than a dozen daily.
Now, this was 2017. As of today, I think someone did the math, and I think it said it's like, I'm not even kidding, like over 60,000. I could be wrong there, but I think that's what I'm about right now. And yes, admittedly, when I first started back in the day, keep in mind, I've been uploading on YouTube since 2008. They would not allow you to do lengthy videos. You could only do videos that were around 10 minutes in length. If you did anything longer than that, it would ban your video. Oh, too long, rejected. So you had to make small snippets of content. It wasn't until, I'd say probably, what was it, like 2012, when the site started allowing half an hour to an hour long videos, and eventually they allowed unlimited length. But when you look at this number, you're like, oh my God, how do you upload so many videos? Back in the day, I was uploading, 5, 6, 7 hours of content a day, 10-minute videos each. So I was uploading, 60 videos in a day sometimes. That's how it got that high.
This is in addition to another channel where he uploads video logs, or vlogs, where he talks about himself and what he's doing, typically for over an hour at a time.
That channel, by the way, is retired. I retired it as of January of this year. Now all of my content is found right here on DSPGaming exclusively. At a time, it made sense to separate the content. When I was uploading 60 videos a day on DSPGaming, I didn't want to have my vlogs be overtaken by that. But now I do 1+ hour video length, so only uploading like 5, 6 videos a day. It makes sense to put the vlogging on the same channel, so this channel is officially done.
His Patreon page, he makes over $1,000 every month from nearly 200 different patrons. Searching
That now is false. This is very outdated. This is from 2017. In 2017, my income was very diversified, but as of then, I became a full-time streamer, and when I became a full-time streamer, the focus was more support the streams. So a lot more people started doing things like subscribing to my Twitch channel, cheering, in particular tips. But tips got really good, and this went way down. As of today, this only is around, I would say, between $250 to $300 a month, if that. And that's okay, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad about that, because basically what happened is the support moved. The support moved from Patreon over to my streams, and I still get a good amount of support. So even though this is different today, it's not a huge, oh my God, the sky is falling kind of a deal. It's perfectly fine. By the way, I just received a $100 tip from NDO103. He says the following: happy YouTube anniversary. I've seen some other YouTubers starting to test YouTube gift subs. Has YouTube reached out to you about it? I already applied for it. They did not reach out to me. I applied for it through the form that you were supposed to fill out, and haven't heard anything since. I don't know what the process is or anything like that. But I already tossed my hat into the ring. Here's hoping that, yes, I will actually get them, because obviously I would like them. And it would help a lot. I had the gifted subs on Twitch. I don't have them here on YouTube. It's one of the big differences between YouTube and Twitch streaming. But I guess we'll see what happens. So because of that very generous tip, we already have earned 2 rewards. Number 1, Gunner glasses. I know you love it. And number 2, a hat. Now I'm going to do a poll for a hat that I'm going to run in the stream chat for a little bit. while we get started here with the event. So let's do a poll here. Which hat is down the rabbit hole best? Let's do cowboy. Let's do Pikachu. Let's do a Viking hat. And let's do fake hair hat. There you go. All stupid hat. So very shortly, I'll be wearing a stupid hat as a reward for people contributing to my content. Thank you very much, NDO. Okay, let's continue.
For him on YouTube, however, brings up far more than just his own videos. There are numerous clips and compilations of his gameplay constructed to mock and tease him, while others offer commentary on what has gone wrong with his channel, implying that he once had a loyal and enraptured fan base.
You know what gets me about when I look at something like this? He's just scrolling right through the search results for YouTube. It's like, okay, here's a video that got like tons of views. It's about Phil's biggest mistakes. Here's a video with tons of views. And here's a video, a challenge to DarksydePhil DSP from DRLP. 2 days ago, 77 views. Accept the challenge. Do you really think I'm going to fucking watch that video? Like, you're basically talking to yourself. Do you think I've ever watched a single video like that? I mean, come on. Seriously. All right. Let's continue.
He often is cited by other content creators as a negative example, though their reasons for doing so often remain vague.
It's like, that's the fucking DarksydePhil style of doing things. Blame everybody that isn't you, and people watch to watch you rage. Like, do you want to be the fucking court jester? No, you don't.
So that's Total Biscuit. Rest in peace, Total Biscuit. Passed away several years ago from, I believe, cancer. People do this all the time. People reference me in a really negative light out of nowhere, and I'm like, now wait a minute. So let me get this straight, okay? I don't know who you are, right? In a lot of cases, I just don't even know who these people are, okay? I've never referenced you in any of my content in a negative manner at all, right? I don't, you know, Total Biscuit couldn't have been further away from the kind of content that I did, primarily PC gaming, did a lot of commentary, did a lot of, I mean, I remember he was famous for doing Reddit posts and things like that, British, like everything about him is like totally, completely different than anything that I do or whatever. And then I'd be just like minding my own business and someone would be like, oh, did you hear that someone name dropped you in a big negative way today, Phil? And I'd be like, no, I don't know. I don't care. I don't pay attention to it. But this kind of shit would happen all the time. And it's like, wow, like how did I become the whipping boy of the internet where everyone drops my name in a really negative way and I don't even know what's going on? Like, I don't know why he did that. At this point, I don't think I ever had a single interaction with Total Biscuit at all. I didn't even really know who he was or care. I've always been a guy who kind of stays in his lane and does his own thing and doesn't necessarily reach out and mention anyone else unless they mention me first. Or there's been some examples that'll actually be referenced here where I did actually do stupid shit, and I will absolutely admit to some of that stuff. But in general, I hear someone like Total Biscuit referencing me, and, oh yeah, he's the fucking who wants to be the court jester of the internet. I'm like, what do you, like, why would you even say that? I don't know who you are. I'm not even popular enough that that reference even made sense to most of his viewers. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that people would name drop me like that, like this, another good reference to this would be, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Pro Jared dropped a really negative tweet about me. It was like, oh, I was just searching the internet and I really fell down that rabbit hole of negative stuff about DarksydePhil. Haha, whoops. It's like, what are you talking about? Pro Jared, I've never referenced you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. Why are you being a dick to me? It seems like people just have to become okay with being a dick to me, but God forbid that I ever say anything negative about anyone else. It's like, how dare I, but everyone else can just shit on me constantly. And you know, at first it got to me, but after a while, it just got to the point where it was like, I got used to it. I just got used to people being such negative assholes towards me, even though I didn't even know who they were, that I just kind of let it go after a while. It was funny because Total Biscuit and sometimes would say I name dropped him. It's like, dude, maybe once in a blue moon would I ever mention you ever. When someone asked me about you, I would answer a question, and then he's like going on Reddit posts saying, yeah, that DarksydePhil who name drops me all the time. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Let's continue.
So who is he, and how did he gain the ire of so many?
Good question. Who the hell is this asshole? I never heard of him. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on. You want to see my face, and I'm blocking it with my camera. I think he goes through a series of really old pictures of me. There we go. A series of really old pictures of me, and I want to give you frames of reference here. I can tell you, I know where this was taken. This photo was taken at 8 on the Break Arcade in Dunellen, New Jersey, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. Okay, that is Flash G, also Flash Gordon on the left. He was part of Empire Arcadia, a fighting game and other game esports style group at the time, although they were a big scam. Don't tell anyone. Everyone knows. There's been documentaries about it. But anyway, he was one of the nicest dudes ever. And rest in peace, he actually recently passed away, which is incredibly sad because this is one of the nicest dudes in the fighting game community ever. He was friendly with everyone. He was a really good Super Turbo player. He was playing Super Turbo at the same time I was and learning the game at the same time I was. We weren't OGs. We were people who were learning kind of the new blood. I mean, look at how young we are in this picture, right? That's me in my early 20s right there. And while we were kind of like the opposition coming up and trying to learn the game and play against the OGs, the original gamers who had learned these games in the early 90s when they were new, we were kind of the new blood. There was a joke going around at arcades at the time. Oh, you got to be like 25 years old to play Super Turbo, so you guys are banned. You can't enter the tournament. Obviously, that wasn't true, but they always would make jokes and stuff about that back in the day. Okay? So, yeah, rest in peace to Flash. Behind Flash is Drew, or Andrew, someone who used to be an old school friend of mine. I knew him from arcades. He actually used to go to the arcade I used to go to. It was called What's Your Game in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we used to play Street Fighter and King of Fighters together. He's the guy who I played all the King of Fighters games against back in the day. And we actually went to the same high school. I've referenced him many times over the years with fighting game stuff, and also that he was going to be an actor in Project 7, one of a series that I did over the years, but then he bowed out because he got so high that he wouldn't answer his door. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's a little bit of trivia. So yeah, this is very, very long ago at 8 on the Break Arcade in Dunellen, New Jersey. Probably at ECC, also known as the East Coast Championships, which was the biggest competitive Street Fighter tournament at the time on the East Coast of the U.S. Okay, so let's go back. I just didn't want to block my own face there. I wanted you guys to see how young I was in that picture. Okay.
Philip Burnell entered the gaming community in the early 2000s as a fighting game competitor.
Oh, by the way, you guys voted for cowboy hat. Let me put the cowboy hat on. And then we'll continue. I don't want to have this poll going forever. Okay. Again, if you're wondering why I'm wearing the cowboy hat, it's because we hit a certain support goal on my stream today, and I always do silly stuff when we hit support goals. So
he would commonly compete in local tournaments. He struggled to place
look how handsome.
Himself the title of the King of Hate. Philip himself claims that this nickname was earned due to the unpopular opinions he touts and because he uses the hatred against him as a motivator, but other tournament goers tell a different tale.
Okay. What we're about to talk about is the origin of the King of Hate moniker. Let's see what Frederick Knudsen says the origin is, and then I will actually explain the true story.
They claim that he received this nickname because of his bouts of rage, argumentative disposition, and poor conduct.
Wrong. Completely wrong. That's what people on the internet like to say because they want to slander me, but that's completely false. I can tell you the day. I remember the day that I made that moniker myself. I was actually sitting on SRK forums, and at that time, I was a very argumentative person, okay? Admittedly, I was an internet troll in the fighting game community. I was the guy who always talked shit. I was the guy who always was like, man, don't get in my face at a tournament. I will fuck you up. I will throw you in a trash can. I will, I used to do that. I openly admit it today. I was basically a bad influence on the fighting game community back in the day because basically the fighting game community was my outlet. Like, in my real life, everything was boring. My real life was boring, man. I had a shitty retail jobs. I was going to college at the time, and really, I didn't feel like it was going anywhere. My college degree wasn't really going to get me anything. I was working my ass off to pass, and I didn't really have a future in anything I was doing in my life. But Street Fighter was my outlet to kind of like let loose and be a bit larger than life character. At the time, I was a very, very huge fan of pro wrestling. So I kind of drew a big parallel between Street Fighter and pro wrestling. Oh, if you're a big guy in Street Fighter, you could be like as popular as a pro wrestler. completely stupid. Back then, Street Fighter was grassroots. There was no big sponsorships, no giant streamed tournaments. There was no opportunity to even make a living playing competitive Street Fighter. But that didn't stop me from being a fucking idiot and acting like a fool on the internet, okay? So, after being the guy who talked so much shit, exactly, people are saying you were like a heel. Exactly, I was like a heel in the fighting game community, right? So, knowing that I was a heel on shoryuken.com, I remember the day that I had the DarksydePhil account and I made the tagline, The King of Hate. I made an actual avatar that was two red cartoonish looking eyes that had like a brow looking up like this. And the tagline was, so you thought that you could stop me? And the whole idea behind the King of Hate moniker was everyone hates me because I talk so much shit online, but no one can do anything about it because in person, I could hold up my end of the shit talking and win. Of course, that didn't really happen until the mid-2000s. I always fucked up and choked. I will admit this openly to you guys. I always choked whenever I had like a big opportunity to do something big, and I would, oh my God, Phil made top 5 in a tournament, choke in you know, when you're getting to the semifinals. I would never really hang at a high competitive level until the mid-2000s, which is actually about to be discussed in just a minute here in the Down the Rabbit Hole video, okay? So, in a nutshell, the King of Hate moniker was made by me. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. I made it up. I'm the one who put it on shoryuken.com. People then took it and said, oh, this happened, that happened. Bullshit. The truth of the matter is I invented it. And yes, it was meant to be a motivator. You guys hate me. Fine. Well, I'm going to hate back on you, and I'm going to use that to motivate myself to do well in a competitive way. That's how I always did. Whenever in my life, whenever someone said to me, Phil, you're not good enough. You're a scrub. That was the term back then. You're a scrub, right? You say I'm a scrub, fuck you. Now I'm going to remotivate myself to get better at the game and come back and beat you guys because you said that I suck. That was how I operated back then. I thrived on the hate of others in order to motivate myself to keep going and prove them wrong. That's how the moniker came to be. It doesn't matter what other shit anyone else has made up over the years. That's how it existed, at least in the reference to the Street Fighter community, okay? These idiots always wanted to make jokes about, oh, everyone hates Phil, so he's the king of hate. No, that's not what it really was. It wasn't because I had bad conduct. In fact, completely unlike what Frederick Nugent just said, but that was common belief. In person, I was the nicest fucking guy you could meet. I was super respectful to everyone. Everyone knew that no matter what match it was that I was playing, even if it was a $500 money match, and I lost it horribly and I felt like it was not fair, I would still shake the hand of my opponent. I always put it out there that I absolutely had to be the honorable guy in person. I was absolutely positively the biggest internet shit talker there was. But in person, I strove to be a nice guy. And it was funny because people who met me in person at tournaments were very friendly with me. People who thought I was a complete jackass met me and were like, holy shit, why are you such a dick online? And I was always like, because I'm just fucking around. I'm having fun, man. It's life. You can't be so serious. I didn't think that anything online was fucking serious. I always thought it was a fucking joke. While these people were so ultra serious about their online personas and all their shit, I was like, why are people being so fucking serious about this? Just joke around, right? I never understood that. So anyway, people who met me online in person never had the impression that I was a troublemaker, a shit stirrer, someone who was causing problems and was argumentative and was threatening people. This documentary makes it sound like I am, as you're about to see, because we're about to see something that's actually very out of reference. Anyway, Malcolm, thank you for 2 different tips here. The first one, he says, happy anniversary. I'm the Unbreakable. Then he says, vest time. And yes, with those tips, we hit $150, which means you guys now get to vote on a style of vest for me to wear for the rest of today's stream. So let me put that poll up, and then we're going to go ahead and continue with the video. So which vest is down the rabbit hole best? We've got the original beige. We'll do red. We'll do denim. And we'll do a stupid gold vest today. There you go. All right. So get ready, because I believe we're about to do a very meme-worthy clip that a lot of people have referenced over the years as a direct reference of me being an asshole at Street Fighter tournaments. Let's watch.
DSP, stop recording. No one.
Hold on. You can't. My camera placement is bad. He put all the subtitles on the top. Hold on a second here. I want you guys to be able to read the subtitles. Let me put my camera down here. Hopefully this will fix this. There we go. Is that good? Okay. I want you to be able to read that. It's kind of important. All right, so I'm at a tournament, and I'm basically getting yelled at. Here we go.
Get the shit, play. You can't hold up a tournament.
Interestingly enough, you spelled my name wrong. My name is spelled P-H-I-L-I-P. Frederick spelled it P-H-I-L-L-I-P. I don't know why, because it's been spelled with one L forever. I don't know where he got his information from. Maybe it was just the common spelling, but he got my name wrong.
Where am I playing? You still haven't told me. Jesus Christ, man. Treat you like you're a rookie.
Treat you like you're a rookie. All right, so let me give you some perspective on what's going on in this video. This video is completely out of context. This isn't even from my competitive days of Street Fighter. This video is from much later. This is from my YouTube days. So he's talking about my history as a Street Fighter player, and this has nothing to do with that at all, okay? So, this video was taken during the era of Street Fighter 4, which didn't even come out till 2009. I retired from serious competitive play in 2007. Did I enter tournaments? Yes, I did, but it was more for getting footage for YouTube. At that time, I was already a YouTuber trying to get a variety of content for my YouTube channels. It wasn't about placing. It wasn't about trying to win tournaments. It never was. Go watch my old Street Fighter 4 coverage, and you'll see 9 times out of 10, I'm dicking around. I'm doing a madness series with a low-tier character. It was never about me trying to be the best player. I wanted to do a variety of content. In fact, I even told my audience back in the day, as much as I would like to be a pro player, it's too time consuming to do it. I would have to constantly travel, constantly play in tournaments all the time to get to a competitive level. I would love to do it, but I wanted to do a variety of content instead. I wanted to do other gameplay styles, not just focus on fighting games constantly, okay? So, this video, the infamous video, is taken from, it was either a tournament in 2009 or 2010, okay? I actually stopped traveling for tournaments around 2011. This tournament was one of the first tournaments ever held, if not the first tournament ever held, by this certain group of people. I don't even remember who they are at this point. I really don't. I don't remember. They were newcomers. They assured everyone coming to their tournament that they were going to be professional and everything was going to run smoothly. They claimed that they had people who had run tournaments before on their staff. They basically promised the world to everyone. And by the way, they had really big prizes promised, okay? That's why a lot of people went. It was actually one of the bigger tournaments for Street Fighter 4 ever held on the East Coast at the time of the United States, I should say. And I went, rather than going to really play competitively in the tournament, I went to cover it. I wanted to film. I wanted to document the start of the movement of Street Fighter 4, because Street Fighter 4 was a huge comeback for fighting games. Fighting games had been effectively kind of dead when it came to Street Fighter since like Capcom vs. SNK 2, which came out in what, 2001? So you're talking an 8 to 9 year gap when there was no real competitive Street Fighter at all that mattered. It was all grassroots stuff. All of a sudden, there was a resurgence in the community. There was money coming out, and people wanted to have these big scale tournaments, okay? So people from all over the country came to this tournament, all right? I wish I remembered all the details. I don't remember the name of it or who ran it. What I can tell you is that this was one of the worst run tournaments I've ever attended, if not the worst run tournament I've ever attended in my life. It was incredibly disorganized. You could tell from the moment they started, they had never done this before. They had lied to everyone. They had zero experience. They had people having to come over and try to tell them how to run their own brackets because they didn't even understand how tournament brackets were run. They were losing the data. Like, they had all the data of who was supposed to go. They were mismanaging it. They were losing it and constantly, all right? It was basically a clusterfuck mess. It was a joke. Now, keep in mind, you might say, oh, well, what's the big deal, right? What's the big deal? People came from all over the country. People paid, no exaggeration, thousands of dollars to travel to this event and participate in it. They were promised a well-run tournament with big prize pools and all of this. So if you're spending all this time and money to go to this event and you go and the event's a joke, compare this to Fyre Fest. That's essentially what this tournament was. You showed up, you were promised one thing. Where the fuck is everything? There's not enough setups. The stuff's not working. You don't know how to run your tournament. What is this, a fucking joke? This was the Fyre Fest of Street Fighter tournaments at the time. Okay? Now, this clip, all right, is actually a clip that was taken late in the day of a major tournament day. I had been entered into the Street Fighter 4 tournament, okay? And people actually really wanted to see me play in this tournament because at the time I was known as a prominent YouTuber, all right? People were interested in seeing DSP play in the tournament and see how he was going to do. Even though I never professed that I was going to be competitively great and a top contender, people were curious to see how I would do. So, how does it work in a tournament? Well, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to be able to see your bracket where you're going to play, so you know the group of players you're playing with. When they announce, oh, we're playing bracket 8, everyone, bracket 8, come over here and play, all the players from that bracket were supposed to come over and stand there, and they would call your names when it was time for your match. You would play your match, and then you would be done, and you'd be told, okay, go take a break, come back in a little bit, you'll play your next match. So essentially, you would play all your matches back to back within maybe a 1 to 2 hour period till your bracket was done. Then when your bracket was done, you'd find out how far you got and if you were able to qualify for the finals bracket, which usually took place on a different day or a different time, okay? Here's what happened at this tournament, all right? Hey, everyone, come over. It's time for your bracket. Okay. Only half the people walk over. Well, where's everyone else? I don't know. Okay. Well, we'll find them. 10 minutes pass. 20 minutes pass. 30 minutes pass. In some cases, an hour passes. I'm just fucking standing here. I have nothing. You won't let me leave to go play casual matches or take a piss because you're telling me I have to be here for my match, but there's no one else here. What is going on? Why aren't you disqualifying these people? What is happening? And every time you would ask, they would say, don't worry. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. In this case, I'm not kidding. My bracket was called. I was the first one fucking there. Okay? After waiting about 2 hours to play, I said, fuck this. These guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I walked away and I started actually recording other people's matches because I wanted something out of the tournament. I couldn't play because they didn't know what they were doing. So I was trying to record the actual matches that were going on. All of a sudden, the tournament organizers tried to make me a scapegoat for the fact that they didn't know how to run their tournament. They literally started singling me out and saying, why is DSP not ready? Where is DSP? I'm like, what are you talking about? I was standing there for 2 fucking hours and you never called me. I'm waiting. I keep asking, who's my opponent? Where am I playing? What's going on? They were basically so disorganized that it was a complete waste of everyone's time. All right? Now, admittedly, I was fucking furious at this, okay? Now, at this time, this was from 2009, 2010. I had already run major multiple tournaments pretty much almost single-handedly. I had run all kinds of tournaments, including East Coast Championships. The biggest tournament on the East Coast I had run with the help of someone from New York City. And I want to give credit where credit is due. It wasn't all me. It was a co-run. But still, I had run major tournaments that were bigger than this event myself. Okay? I offered them to help them run it. I said, guys, you guys are really disorganized. Do you want me to help you make this run smooth? Everyone knew my tournaments ran smooth. Everyone loved attending a DarksydePhil tournament because regardless of the fact if you liked me or not, you knew the tournament was very well run and everyone got their matches in on time. No one was waiting around. It was a really oiled machine, as they say. They refused my help. They did not want me to help them. They were under the impression they could do it. Okay? They couldn't. By the end of this tournament, there was about 24 people who demanded their money back, including me, and we got it. Because they ran their tournament so poorly, you're going to disqualify us? What are you talking about? You don't know what you're doing. We offered you help. You refused. Give us our fucking money back. And they did. So, this is completely out of context. Now, here's what I will admit. I shouldn't have been that angry. I shouldn't have been threatening to punch someone. Of course, in the heat of the moment, it's just like in the heat of the moment of my gameplay, everyone says stupid shit. No, I wasn't actually going to run and punch someone in the fucking face. But this video is a prime example of them actually trying to make me the scapegoat for their own ineptitude. They were calling me out. Where are you, Phil? You're holding up the tournament. I was standing there for 2 hours waiting to play, and you told me to wait. I finally walk away to do something because I felt like I wasted my money coming to this tournament. I want to film someone, and now you're going to yell at me like I was the one who wasn't there first, waiting for 2 hours? They were a bunch of fucking assholes. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that I'm sorry for being angry. I will say I'm sorry for saying that I would have beaten them up because I wasn't going to do that. That's stupid. That's completely dumb. Never in any case should I ever threaten anyone. All right? And by the way, I didn't directly threaten them. I just said that to myself, and someone happened to catch it on camera there that was recording and heard it. But Absolutely, I shouldn't have made that threat. That was stupid. However, I had every right to say I could run their tournament for them because I absolutely could run that tournament way better than they ever did, okay? Now, here's the thing. This was one complete exception to the rule. This was like a rarity that I would go to a tournament and be angry. In fact, it was usually the opposite. Tournaments were my outlet to get some relaxation, to have some fun, to get out of the menial stuff of my normal life. When I went to a tournament, it was an opportunity for me to kind of relax. And like I said, when I went to tournaments, people knew me as the guy who was a nice guy, you know? They thought, oh, DarksydePhil, he's really nice in person. It's weird that he's such a dick online, you know, but in person, he's the nicest guy. This was the one tournament, like, ever that pissed me off so bad that basically I got to the boiling point and I demanded my money back because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. But it's funny that this video clip has been used as somehow a widespread example of how DarksydePhil was this toxic, angry individual at tournaments, when in reality, it was very much the opposite, okay? Here's what I will say. There was always a running shtick with me in tournaments, and the running shtick was I would always blame the controls for my loss, but it was a running shtick. It's actually a shtick that went into my YouTube content years later. So if anyone ever came out and said, man, that Phil, he never took ownership of his losses. Instead, he always blamed something like the controls. I would say, yes, you're right. That was my running thing. I used to, in the arcades, I used to be like, man, there was a faulty computer error and my move didn't come out. That was the shtick back then. Okay? But that's not what they're saying. They're trying to portray me on the internet as like the most toxic possible guy at a tournament. I've had people tell me, Phil, you were banned from competitive Street Fighter because you brought a weapon to a tournament. What? I was never banned from anything ever in Street Fighter. I was known as the nicest guy, and I never brought a weapon to a tournament. What the fuck are you talking about? Of all the things in this documentary, the fighting game stuff is almost completely wrong. But I don't blame Frederick Knudsen because there's not a real lot of documented stuff from back in the day when I was in competitive Street Fighter. Camcorders at the tournament were a rarity. So nothing was really documented. All you get is hearsay and what people want you to think because they don't like a particular person. And like I said, a lot of people didn't like me because I was an online troll. And I get that. But for people to try to say I was like this really nasty person who always got into fights at tournaments and everyone didn't like me, it's actual bullshit. And that actually does piss me off that there's people out there who maybe have watched this documentary and think that, when it was completely the opposite. I never wanted to be the person who caused trouble in real life. I was the person who ran tournaments and made them nice for people. I had so many people who would compliment me in my tournament. Thank you for giving me such a great experience. I've been to other tournaments that were stressful and annoying, and yours was not. That was always the way that I wanted people to experience Street Fighter. Not go to a tournament, there's a bunch of bullies around you and fucking with you and shit. That's terrible. I would never want that on anyone else. And this video definitely portrays me in that manner, okay? Okay, so we got two more tips here. Joel tipped me $7.07. Did you know moving house is tiring? I am moving down the road. I don't know how you moved across the country. Moving is very, very tiring, especially if you're moving a bunch of shit. It's stressful. I hear you, Joel. Thank you for the tip. And your boy Bob did a $4.20 tip. Thank you, your boy Bob. So that's going to get us up to 161. And the vest poll is complete. Gold vest has won. So let me go ahead and get the gold vest. Okay. One sec. Actually, I just realized I don't have my headphones plugged in properly. Oops. I haven't plugged into the wrong thing. All right. The funny thing about stuff like this is how the internet can spin anything to be evidence of anything. This is a video from either 2009 or 2010, long after my competitive days ended. This was a rarity that I would even attend a Street Fighter tournament. Yet this clip is being used as evidence that back in the day, when I was a competitive Street Fighter player, that I was some kind of an angry asshole that caused problems all the time. Like, it's not even the right time period, this video. It doesn't even make sense that it could be used as that frame of reference. Do I blame Frederick Knudsen? No, because people have done shit like this to me all the time over the years, always taking something out of context and using it as evidence that it's not. I'm used to it, but I'm glad that today I at least had opportunity to clarify this for you guys. All right, let's continue.
According to himself, he had poured all of his available time and funds during this period into practicing and competing in a game called Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, traveling all across the East Coast to attend tournaments.
Not just the East Coast, the country, Texas, Chicago, the Deep South, like Georgia, California. I went all over the place, and I spent a ridiculous amount of time and money doing it. About a 3 to 4 year period, I got myself into a lot of debt because of it, and I regret it. Even though these were some really awesome times for me, because I met a lot of people from all over the country, from different walks of life, and I found a lot of different cultures around the country to be very hospitable and really nice. I really learned a lot about how people in America are by traveling this way, and I really did enjoy that time. I look back now and I'm like, dude, those were my formative years. In my early 20s, I could have been doing productive things with my life, and I was blowing all my time and money playing competitive Street Fighter that went nowhere. And in addition, just listen to this, for those who don't know. I traveled to Las Vegas, not once, not twice, 3 times. Guess how many times that I was in Las Vegas that I actually went to the Strip in Vegas? 0. Do you want to know why? Because I'm a fucking moron. I wasted all my time playing Street Fighter, and I sat in a ballroom waiting to play my matches instead of doing tourism and travel and fun. I was a complete jackass. And I can admit that today because I look back and I'm like, man, I'm so stupid. How the hell did I miss those opportunities? Okay.
In 2005, Philip decided that he would take out thousands of dollars in credit card loans to attend the Evolution Championship Series, better known as EVO, an event where numerous tournaments for different fighting games would take place. By far, it is the largest of its kind. There, he would enter the tournament for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, where he would take 4th place underneath 3 Japanese players.
This is actual tournament footage, too. Pretty cool.
Latching onto this accomplishment, he quickly proclaimed himself the best Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo player in America, since no other American players had placed above him.
Now, I like seeing this ranking for a couple different reasons. First of all, the names. My God, these guys were fucking giant. Giant, Nuki, Onuki he was known as, and Tokido. We've heard me reference Tokido many times over the years as my rival. He's the guy I could never beat in competitive Street Fighter play. But I like the guys. This is cool. Bucktooth, Campbell Tran, super nice guy. One of the nicest dudes ever. He's from Texas. I loved going to tournaments that he ran or was involved in, and he was a prodigy in Super Turbo. Like, he barely played it, but picked up so much in a short period of time. NKI. Basically, he was the technical guy. He was the guy who could break down games frame by frame and understand and explain frame data to you. Really smart guy. I mean, does anyone even not need to know about Jason Cole? Known as the dirty dog of the Street Fighter community. Basically one of the coolest dudes ever and one of the best Dalseems ever. Il Shill was a relative newcomer like me. He wasn't well known in this community, and he played E Honda and got really far in this tournament. And I don't know if he ever did well after this. I have no clue. But anyway, it's really cool to see this tournament ranking and see, there it is, ladies and gentlemen, in black and fucking white. As you can see, I actually did make top 5 at EVO one year, okay? This is the Nationals, by the way. This isn't a qualifier tournament. This is the Nationals. I got the highest ranking of any American that year, okay? Now, by the way, I will say this as well. You heard Mr. Knudsen just say that I would reference myself as the highest ranking American that year. It was a running joke. All right? I knew people didn't like me online. They were so up in arms against me. They hated my guts because I talked so much shit online. This year, I backed my shit up, and I actually made a high ranking at EVO, the highest ranked American. It was a joke. I wasn't serious. Of course, you know what? You want to know? I'm 4th place, so I'm the 4th biggest loser, right? Like, I didn't win. It's either you win or you lose. I lost. I was a loser like everyone else, and I knew that. I was very upset that Tokido outplayed me with Vega because our Vega mirror match was actually a really good match. But it was meant to be a joke. Why? Here's why. I love to be an internet troll. I knew there were people on the West Coast of the United States who absolutely hated me. I goaded them into traps to get trolled so that they would look stupid. I've told you guys this before. There was a website that a bunch of top players from the West Coast of the US made. It was called topplayers.com. I purposely made a parody website called tophaters.com to make fun of them. The whole site's purpose originally was to make fun of them and to troll them. And when people hated me, I said, haha, guess what? I actually had a good placing for once. So now I'm going to take this opportunity to troll further. I'm going to start saying I'm the top ranked player in the country. I know I'm not, but I'm going to say it anyway to piss them off because I got enjoyment out of pissing off people I didn't like. You know, like internet trolls do. I was definitely an internet troll back then. I wholeheartedly admit it. Today, I regret that. I think it was stupid. I should have been more of a nicer guy, and maybe people wouldn't have hated my guts as much. But today, I look back and I'm like, well, it is what it is. I admit it. I was a complete fucking asshole back then. And I trolled the fuck out of people saying I was the top ranked player. I knew I wasn't the best player in the United States, but I said it, and every time I said it, you could see the OGs getting so angry and inflamed and fused and so pissed. Their forum post, had to say something about it. It was like so funny. But anyway, that's the story of that.
But other players in the community were unimpressed. This
Here we go.
particular tournament used a special version of the game ported from the arcades onto the PlayStation game console, and this port was widely considered to be far less balanced and vastly inferior for numerous reasons, including unresponsive controls and extremely problematic bugs. As such, many top-level competitors boycotted the tournament. One other competitor, Alex Valle, had declared that he was going to enter the tournament not out of a competitive spirit, but to gatekeep other competitors whom he felt didn't deserve the prize money or prestige, but he was forced to cancel at the last minute due to work obligations.
Okay. I have a lot to say about that, okay? I have to give you guys a perspective and a frame of reference, okay? At the time, back in the day, we all played on arcade cabinets. We just did. There wasn't even console ports of many of these games in the 90s and early 2000s. It wasn't until the era of the Sega Dreamcast in the early 2000s that you could really get arcade-accurate ports of games. In the case of Super Street Fighter II Turbo, it didn't matter what version you played, whether it was on the Dreamcast, whether it was on PlayStation 1, there was a PC version. It didn't matter. No matter what, people would say it's inferior, okay? Now, I was actually at the time one of the people who completely agreed with this mentality, and I never wanted Evo to go on console because I knew my most beloved game of Street Fighter was Super Turbo. I knew there was no good home version of Super Turbo. I campaigned against it. It was me and other OG players like the Alex Valles, the Mike Watsons, the John Choi's, who were up in arms against Shoryuken.com saying, hey guys, don't run Evo with consoles. We want the cabinets. That's the accurate way to do it. But the people who were, the Cannon brothers who were in charge of Shoryuken.com and Evo said, no, it's too expensive. We can't keep doing cabinets every year. There's too many technical issues. The logistics are terrible. We have to start using console versions, okay? So this was the year 2005, all right? Was the year when they decided to go full console for Super Turbo. They announced way ahead of time it would be on PlayStation 1. I didn't like that. I did not like that version. I've actually bought that version of the game just for this tournament. I played it against my friends trying to learn the game. I didn't like it. I felt like it was very inferior to what you would play in arcades. I practiced it a little bit at home, not much, only a little bit at home, and then I actually went to the tournament itself, okay? And at the tournament, I played the hell out of the game a day or two before the actual competition to try to learn the differences. I can outright tell you guys right now, yes, that version of Super Street Fighter II Turbo is different from the arcade version. Certain moves have completely different properties. They do different damage output. Some characters, I'm not even kidding you, are not the right size. They took the sprite from the arcade game, put it in there, and they made them either shorter or bigger, which means their hitboxes are wrong. Okay? So the whole game is flawed. I will 100% admit that, okay? However, the tournament that year at EVO was not for arcade version of Super Street Fighter II Turbo. The tournament was for PlayStation 1 version of Super Street Fighter II Turbo. So these top players, these OGs, had every right to say, I abstain. If Alex Valle doesn't want to play in the tournament, he doesn't have to play in the tournament. And you can argue, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Well, it doesn't mean that it means anything in regards to arcade Super Turbo. But that's not what they're running. You got to play what they've decided to run. You got to play the game or don't play at all, right? I played the game. I practiced, and within 2 days of me hardcore practicing the game at EVO, I learned the differences. When I entered the tournament, I was beating top player after top player after top player. Bob Painter, Jason Wilson, Mike Watson, John Choi, the biggest names in Super Turbo. I beat them all back to back to back. And all they could do was complain about the version of the game. It's like, but you knew the version of the game ahead of time. You didn't show up at the tournament and they sprung it on you. Oh, surprise, it's an inferior version of the game. It's not like you were going to play the World Series of Baseball and they announced, oh, guess what? We're actually playing wiffle ball today. You knew what version was ahead of time. So that makes any actual complaint inferior and invalid. I'm sorry, it just does. It negates the complaints, right? The other thing that gets me about all these OGs that complained about EVO 2005, all right? Did you look at the results? I would rewind, but I'm actually afraid here that if I rewind a bit, it's going to screw up the visuals. Here we go.
No other American player.
Okay, here's your results, all right? Do you notice a little bit something interesting about these results? All right. Oh, now I'm dancing on my own face. Look at this. Thank you, Andrew, for the super chat. The top 3 players are Japanese, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain something to you. They played PlayStation 1 Super Turbo as well. They weren't playing some other version. They were playing the same version as everyone else at that tournament, okay? The Japanese players, just like me, played that version of the game, adapted to it, and succeeded, all right? They didn't complain. They didn't whine and stamp their feet. They learned the game and won. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you something else, okay? If this were arcade Super Turbo, those Japanese players also would have taken the top 3 spots. It's well known that Japanese players at this time period in Street Fighter history were far superior to Americans. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the water over there. I don't know if they just play a hell of a lot more than us and they have more competition. But they always would kick our asses. Always. So if the Japanese came to America to play in this tournament, practiced it, beat, and won, are you telling me that because this is PlayStation 1, this is negated for them too? Oh no, because they're Japanese players, they got a pass. They didn't get any disrespect for taking the top 3 spots. They're okay. But if DarksydePhil gets 4th place, completely negate any reason why he should have won. It's an inferior version. He got lucky. These people didn't enter. It was excuse after excuse after fucking excuse. All right? Now, what people like to gloss over and never seem to mention is that after this year, this was my first major success in competitive Street Fighter. Okay? After this year, I applied myself even harder. For 2006 and 2007, I started traveling the country playing in all what was considered qualifying tournaments for EVO, which was the big national finale. Think like there's qualifying games in any sport, and then there's the big finals, right? So, as I started attending all these qualifier tournaments, I was winning them. There was a time when I actually had gotten so many qualifier spots in 2006 and 2007 that they said, wow, Phil is now seeded to be in the finals at EVO like 7 times. We need to actually take people who he beat and put them into the spots because we can't have a whole bracket that's just Phil playing, all right? You can find these results all over the internet that I won all these tournaments, but no one wants to admit it. Instead, all they do is point to this one result and say, Phil only won the one inferior tournament that, and he didn't even win it. He got 4th place, but he only did well in his inferior version. It's bullshit. Year after year after this, I was doing well competitively. But it's funny how we all want to forget that and act like it never happened to try to pass this fucking narrative that Phil sucks. Why did they want to pass that narrative? Because people online didn't like me because I was a shit talker, because I was an asshole. And God forbid I back my shit up. Now all of a sudden, you can't say that I'm the scrub anymore because I beat everyone. You see? So it was fun. It was almost like reality was completely fractured from what was going on online. People didn't want to admit. And every time I did, oh, that's bullshit. He got lucky and this and that. In reality, people in person who saw me play respected me a ton. That's how I became a well-respected tournament director as well as competitive player during this time on the East Coast, because people knew that I wasn't really an asshole in person and knew that I was actually really good at old school Street Fighter despite what everyone was saying about me online. Okay? One other thing, this quote here about Alex Valle skipping the tournament because of work obligations was bullshit. He made that up. Basically what happened was everyone else was entering the tournament, including John Choi, Mike Watson, and all of that. And again, I can't 100% confirm this, but the rumor was that he was afraid. He was so over caring about his reputation, okay, that he was afraid that if he entered this version of Super Turbo, the inferior version, and he lost, that his reputation would be like, you know, splattered negatively. Imagine if Valle played DSP and DSP beats him in tournament. He'll never live that down. So he actually refused to play in the tournament. But, get this, showed up after the tournament ended, work obligations, right? And then he basically demanded that everyone have a second tournament in a hotel room on a makeshift cabinet to determine who the real person was who was the best at Super Turbo that year. Even though the tournament was over, he shows up and starts throwing his weight around. Oh, I don't think that was real. I wasn't in it, and that was a bad version. So we gotta fucking, you know, we gotta do this our way. We gotta play on a cabinet in a hotel room. So I'll be honest with you guys. I entered that tournament and I lost. All right. I'd been playing Super Turbo the entirety of the weekend. I was burnt out. I had just gotten 4th place, played the best matches of my life in competitive Street Fighter, right? I was used to the PlayStation 1 version of the game. That's what I had been playing for this tournament. And now all of a sudden they want to pull me into a hotel room to play a tournament behind the scenes, not recorded, right, of the arcade edition on a cabinet after I'd been playing all week long. So I was tired. I was beat. I have absolutely no idea how I would have actually done if I was ready for that. But I failed miserably. I think I went out and I think I beat one person and then I lost twice and that was it. And I said, fuck this. And I left and I went back to my hotel room and relaxed because I didn't care what happened at the unofficial behind the doors tournament. But these guys then decided to start saying, oh, that was the real tournament. See, Phil didn't win in the real tournament. He lost the real tournament that happened in the hotel room. We all know that was the real tournament. It's like, can you be any more sour? You didn't want to play the version of EVO. You didn't practice the version of EVO. You either lost or you didn't even play at EVO. And then you had to have a fake tournament behind the scenes to pretend like that was the real one to try to, all that to discredit me. Think of the lengths people went to just discredit DSP because they hated me that much back then. All right? By the way, I think Alex Valle is a nice guy. I actually do. I've met him in person many times, and after the fact, after our competitive days, you know, my days in competition are over, I actually think he's a really nice guy. He's done tons for the community. We don't have beef or anything. I'm just saying, matter-of-factly, this is what happened back then when the rivalries were so heated, like it was so fucking important, right? Look, I just talked for 25 minutes about Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Who the fuck cares about Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo in the mid-2000s? Nobody. Okay, then, let's continue. And by the way, we have to fast forward, I think, to... Yeah, here we go.
Spirit.
Oh, shit. Now I clicked on it.
And
There
this
we go.
port was widely considered to be far less spotted the tournament. One other competitor,
here we go.
Alex Valle, had declared that he was going to enter the tournament not out of a competitive spirit, but to gatekeep other competitors whom he felt didn't deserve the prize money or prestige, but he was forced to cancel at the last minute due to work obligations.
Okay, here we go.
Despite the criticism toward the game and the event itself, Philip's pride was inflated by taking 4th place, and he began touting his superiority online and in interviews after EVO.
So this is funny.
Disrespect the people that got.
Look at the shirt I'm wearing. That shirt, because so many people wanted to shit on me and say my placing wasn't legit. I made a t-shirt. Want to talk about a troll? It said, hate this with a big fucking middle finger in the middle of it. And I wore this all around the tournaments. Just say, fuck you. Hate on me if you want. I'm going to beat your ass in the tournament regardless. And I did. I held my own, and I kicked ass for another 2 years. I was constantly doing really well in tournaments.
Top Beta Evolution to make excuses because it's on console, it's ridiculous. And it's unacceptable.
For 2 more years, he would compete in tournaments, but he never found success like he had at the 2005 EVO event. Most other...
That's funny. Someone just said, oh, the smug look on your face. Exactly. I used to do this all... It was like I was playing a character, and every fucking person played into my hands. Again, the people who knew me in real life knew I wasn't really that guy, but everyone online fell for it hook, line, and sinker. They fell for the heel persona like it was pro wrestling. Now, here comes something else. This is a good part too. Here we go.
High-level competitors saw his 4th place victory as a fluke due to the version of the game being played and the lack of other high-level competition, and his tournament results after EVO were seen to reflect his true level of skill.
Looking for. You got some idiot named DSP who's a total piece of shit, by the way. I like to get that on YouTube, but this guy
West
thought
Coast
it was
tournament.
hot shit because he beat me and Choi in a game that was like, it's like fucking Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter or some crap, dude. and he was so proud that he put under as a signature he's the #1 U.S. ranked Super Turbo player that year. But I mean, look at him now.
Okay. All right. Want to talk about something else that's completely out of context. All right. First of all, if you don't know who these gentlemen are, on the far left you got John Choi. In the middle you got Mike Watson. And on the right you got Alex Valle, the OGs of competitive Street Fighter from the West Coast. There's also people who are known from the East Coast who are original gamer players, but these were the guys who were the big guys at the time in the 90s and through the 2000s, okay? Now, you can see this is SoCal Regionals, Southern California. Everyone on the West Coast always kind of hated me, unless they met me in person. But, of course, they're basically playing to their hometown crowd, all right? Now, you might be saying, what on earth? It's 2010, right? My competitive days, as I told you guys, in Street Fighter were long over. I wasn't trying to be a tournament competitor or anything at this time frame. So why in the holy hell do we have 3 OGs on a panel slamming me at a tournament in 2010? Long after. You know, I'm a YouTuber now for two years already. Well, here's your answer. Back then, I was becoming incredibly popular on YouTube, okay? My videos were getting exponentially growing views. I was being known as a very popular guy, of all things, for fighting games, even though I wasn't trying to be popular for them. I wasn't. To me, fighting games were a piece of everything that I did. I wasn't trying to be a top-level pro player. I just wanted to put out entertaining content for my audience. So I would play online, I would rage, I would always have an excuse for why I lost, I would insult the player I was playing online, I would do all this toxic, negative shit, but it would be funny. People would laugh at it, it would garner views on YouTube. Pro players hated this. They were so angry because at that time, they were trying to get prominent. These kind of players, and not just these guys, but newcomers who were trying to play Street Fighter 4, were trying to get noticed on the internet. But it was people like me, people like Free1Up, people like the King Kindred, were the people who were actually getting noticed on YouTube, despite the fact we were not known tournament level players at that time. So they got incredibly upset and jealous at our success. And so what would happen is people would actually go to tournaments, and here they are at a panel, right? And someone asked Mike Watson, what do you think about DarksydePhil? He's really popular on YouTube for Street Fighter right now. And this is how he would answer, okay? Now, I have history with Mike Watson, all right? I'm about to lay a story on you that you guys do not know. No one knows this story. I've never told it before. This is a first for DSP Reacts, all right? Along with me being an asshole online back in the day, I used to be an alcoholic, all right? I've admitted this before, that I used to drink way too much, okay? I've never really publicly talked about it in the context of Street Fighter, all right? I would drink way too much, I would get out of control, and I would do things and say things online that either I regretted or sometimes I didn't even remember happened, okay? There were people who I actually outright insulted, had giant conversations with, and then after the fact, like a day later, they'd be so pissed at me. I'm like, what are you so angry about? And they'd be like, why the fuck did you do that last night? I'd be like, what are you talking about? And then they would send me the log. And I'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry. Holy fuck, I did that. There it is. It's evidence, right? And this was a running thing with me back in the day. This is not like a one-time thing. I was pretty bad. At one point in my life where I would drink and I would just do online shit that I didn't even remember and I didn't control myself, and it was very unfortunate that I did it. And now I can look back and say, wow, I'm a way more well-adjusted individual, right? But I'm really upset at how I used to be to certain people. There were certain people who I trolled for no good reason, who I really, really hammered in. Like there was this guy called Shady K, who was a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 player, And for some reason, I can't even really remember the specific reason. It might have been, I mean, as serious as stupid as it sounds, it might have been over a girl or something. Who knows, right? But I hated on the guy so badly. I would constantly threaten him and do fucked up stuff, and I would make a joke out of it. I would drink and then do fucked up stuff, okay? Now, to bring this back full circle to this, at one point, all right, I don't even remember when this happened, but as I told you guys, I was an internet troll. I would troll the fuck out of these guys online. I'm the best player. I'm the best Super Turbo player. I played the best that year. Ha 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 ha. So apparently one night, all right, I got so drunk that I actually just completely destroyed Mike Watson in an IRC chat. Okay, MIRC is the old chat client everyone used to use to talk about Street Fighter Online. Like, I was on his case. I was like, oh, like, from what I'm to understand, I don't know the actual context. I haven't seen the logs. But apparently I was like, haha, you old man, I beat your ass, and you suck ass, and you think you're so good, but you're just an old crotchety dude, and you can't play anymore. I basically, like, really talked shit to the guy while I was drunk, all right? To the point where he got so upset that he actually private messaged me, and he's like, dude, I'm going to come beat your ass. Like, I'm so angry at you that I'm going to find you, and I'm going to fuck you up, all right? Now, at that point, I think I reacted. I was like, why don't you come find me? Here's my address. And I actually gave him my real-life street address. Okay? That's how crazy stupid I was back in the day. So, apparently this continued to escalate. The thing was, I didn't really remember what I had said or done. But people were like, dude, just so you know, Phil, if you go to, like, a tournament Mike Watson's at this year, this was 2007, all right? Like, dude, if you go to a tournament that Mike Watson's at, he's telling everyone he's actually going to beat your ass. Like, he's so angry with you, with what you said. He's gonna fuck you up. He's telling everyone behind the scenes, expect that DarksydePhil is going to come back bloody. Like, he's doing all this. And I was like, you know what? At that point in my life, I was kind of messed up in the head. Like I told you, I was an alcoholic. I didn't really care about anything. I had this happy-go-lucky attitude where it's kind of like, I don't care. Let him do what he wants to try. If we fight, we fight. I don't care. All right? So, I'm about to tell you a story I never told anybody. All right? I went to an EVO qualifier in 2007 that was on the West Coast. It was held in California. It was the same place where they were holding San Diego Comic-Con. And in fact, the finals were held at San Diego Comic-Con. All right? So I went to this tournament, and I was playing in it, and I was kicking ass. I was doing really well. All right? Well, one day, I think it was the second day of competition, I qualified to basically be like, it wasn't the finals yet, but it was like the semifinals. So the next day I was going to play top players like Mike Watson and all of them. Okay. So, basically I played, I did really well, and I was framed. All right. Well, not framed. I was set up. That's what I actually want to say. I was set up. People were pretending to kind of be friendly with me, and led me into a trap with Mike Watson and Jaha. Jaha, for those who don't know, infamous in the Street Fighter community for being a big, muscly Asian guy. I forget if he's Vietnamese or not, but he's a former Marine, I believe. And a lot of people know of him because he makes a lot of threats, and he's done a lot of unsavory things. In this day, I believe people don't like him anymore, and he's basically kind of been like blacklisted from the community for physical altercations at Street Fighter events, all right? But back in the day, he was known as kind of the tough guy of the Street Fighter community, all right? So, I was set up that I was walking into a parking lot, and all of a sudden, there's Jaha and Mike Watson in my face. And they're basically saying, ha, we finally got you. Who the fuck do you think you are, you piece of shit, to talk shit online? That's it. We're going to fuck you up, all right? And I'm going to tell you the entire truthful story because the story's been spun a lot of different ways, all right? At that point, I was staring right at Mike Watson, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually have no idea what I said to you because I just have no recollection. And he's like, you're full of shit. He's like, I don't believe you. You're, I'm going to beat your ass. And I was like, no. I put my hands behind my back like this, and I said, you got to do what you got to do. If you feel like you're going to make you feel better to hit me, then go ahead. I guess I deserve it. And he's like, well, I don't understand then. Why did you say those things? And I was like, dude, I'm an alcoholic. I admitted it to him right there. I was like, I'm an alcoholic. I drink too much all the time, and I just can't control myself when I do it. And at that point, I actually started crying because I felt so bad about everything that I had done. and how stupid I was as a person, that I thought that it was okay to just fuck with people online and be a really nasty person to people online in general, that I just kind of broke down right in front of him. And basically, he believed me. And he was like, all right, well, I'm just going to tell you right now, you know, don't ever do this shit ever again. Because if you do, you're going to get your ass beat. All right? And that's kind of where we left it. And the next day, funny enough, guess who I had to play in tournament? Mike fucking Watson. I had to play him. Now, you can just imagine, all right? I have to play this guy in tournament the day after he was going to beat my ass, and I had to admit to him the reason that I was such an asshole is because I was an alcoholic, right? He was the only person I'd ever admitted this to in my life. My parents didn't even know, okay? So, I have to play him in the tournament. I'm like, oh boy, how's this going to go, right? Holy shit. So, I pick DJ. Now, most people know that DJ is actually one of my competitive characters who I use in Super Turbo, but he's known as a mid-tier character. That means he's not a high-level tournament character. Oh, my controller batteries, I'll have to fix that. Mike Watson picked his main character, Balrog, okay? I beat him. Convincingly. It wasn't close. I basically, like, beat him. And you could see how fucking upset he was when I beat him in the tournament. You could tell he really wanted to destroy me, but he obviously wasn't going to. I had apologized to him. I had admitted to him the reason why I was such an asshole online. And basically, at that point, I think it was kind of like, not that he certainly didn't like me, but I almost feel like it was respect because he knew that I was man enough to admit it and not to try to do something or fight him, but to admit that I was wrong and that I was fucked up and I had problems. And he basically, that was it. Like, after that, after we had played, actually, we kind of respected each other. Not that we had big conversations or whatever, but I saw him at tournaments, and like I saw him at EVO finals that year, and we actually had a little bit of conversation, camaraderie, and there was actually a big money bet that year, and it was Duck Doe against Sanford Kelly in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and people actually wagered real money on the match, and I actually bet on Duck Doe. I betrayed my coast and decided to bet on Duck Doe because I felt like he was the better player. And, you know, at one point, Mike would have been like, fuck you, you piece of shit. No, you're not allowed. You're not in this. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I felt like we basically squashed our beef because I was honest with him about what was going on. And by the way, I did learn my lesson. After that, I basically was like, I'm not going to be like that kind of person anymore. I'm not going to be a toxic asshole. I would rather be a positive influence on people in the community rather than a toxic jerk. And I did my best to change my online attitude and not be that kind of person anymore. I was running tournaments. I was trying to be a positive person in the community at that point in time, okay? I've never told this story before. And that's the truth of the matter. Is I almost got my ass beat by 2 dudes at EVO because I was an asshole, okay? Now, hold on. Let me swap my battery because we're still not done with this story, okay? Okay, so if this is the case, and if we squashed our beef in 2007, right, and that was the end of it, and I really, after 2007, I retired from competitive Street Fighter for 2 main reasons. Number one, I felt like I was so burnt out that I had spent 3 years of my life spending all my time and money and efforts in it. And after 2007, I felt like I was wasting my time. I was like, even if I win EVO, what's the big deal? I win a couple $1,000. Who cares? I'm spending way more than that. I could be doing better things with my life, okay? And incidentally, that's when I started dabbling in YouTube, okay? But the other thing that happened is that I got a really bad back injury. I actually herniated a disc in my lower back so badly that I could no longer drive on the highway for extended periods of time to travel for Street Fighter tournaments. And I was actually the guy who would drive and carpool. I would drive everyone to the tournaments all around. I was the dude, the guy who would drive everybody. And I basically couldn't do it anymore, and that was the end of it for me. So I basically retired from competitive Street Fighter. You know, I was out of the competitive Street Fighter community for the longest time. So why 3 years later does Mike Watson name drop me in a very negative video here? Well, I was just as curious as you guys, and I actually got my answer, all right? I got a private message back when private messages still existed on YouTube from Mike Watson. It was about a week after this had taken place, this video, because when this took place, all of a sudden people started messaging me online, and they were like, Phil, did you hear what Mike Watson said about you? Why would he say that all these years later? Did you, do you guys still have beef? And I always responded, no, I don't have beef with Mike Watson anymore. Now, I didn't tell this full story at that time, but I basically said, no, to my knowledge, there's no beef. I don't know why he would be slamming me. And I kind of left it at that. I said, maybe there's still sour grapes because I beat him in tournaments back in the day. I don't know. And I always left it at that, all right? So Mike Watson private messages me on YouTube, and he says, I just want to contact you and let you know I apologize for what I said at that tournament. I got caught up in the whole YouTube thing, and basically he wants me to know that there's no beef between. He literally said this in the DM. He's like, there's no beef between us. Everything's fine. I just kind of got really caught up in the moment, and I wanted to get like a moment for YouTube, so I just said what I said. All right. I never responded, but I saved the direct message. All right. And I would have had it for you today. But guess what YouTube did over the years? They deleted all the direct messages. In fact, I remember the day I got it, John Rambo had come over. John Rambo was my former friend who I used to do co-op gameplay with once a week back in the day. He also was a competitive Street Fighter player like me at one point. He came over and he said, I showed it to him. And he said to me in his wisdom, you should really save that. Either do a screen capture or do something. Save it, because one day you might want to reference it again if anything ever happens between you and Mike Watson. And I was like, I have absolutely no intention of being competitive in Street Fighter again. When am I ever going to need to bring this up again? Here we are in fucking 2022, and now I'm punching myself in the gut saying, why didn't I save it? Because who would have thought back then YouTube would actually remove the entire fucking direct message system from YouTube? I have tons of direct messages from back in the day that are gone for good, and they were interesting interactions. I used to talk to people like SSOHPKC and people behind the scenes, great conversations. Gone completely for good because YouTube removed the whole system and never had even opportunity to archive it. So, it is what it is. That's the full story of my history in competitive Street Fighter. Literally, this whole segment of the video, sadly, is pretty incorrect. I don't blame Frederick Knudsen because there is no actual factual basis to corroborate what I'm saying. There's not. There's no evidence. There's no video of that time period. This was a very different time. Today, everything's documented, right? There's nothing from that time period to say. You can completely disbelieve me. I can't say otherwise. I mean, I can't prove the stuff I'm saying because there's nothing. No one documented anything back in the day, so you don't really know the truth. All I can tell you is what I can tell you. That is my perspective. That's what happened. If you think I would lie about admitting to be an alcoholic and a troll and an asshole back then, I mean, go right ahead. But that's the truth of the matter, at least as far as I can tell. All right? So let's end the Street Fighter segment because I believe he's about to move on and talk about the rest of the stuff.
I mean,
With this controversy fading, he too faded from the competitive scene.
That is true. And one final thing I actually want to say as we're moving on. Mike Watson says right there, oh, well, look at him now. Look at me now in 2010. In 2010, I was growing exponentially on YouTube. I was more well-known than any competitive Street Fighter player at the time online. Everyone knew DarksydePhil. So he's saying, look at him now. What does that even mean? Look at me now. I'm bigger than all of you. And I'm not mentioning you or name-dropping you either. You're name-dropping me to try to get some kind of drama or street cred when I'm so far removed from you. But look at me now, right? Whatever. All right. Is he moving? If he's moving past Street Fighter, I'll probably split the video here. He is. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to split the video here. The stream will continue, but I'm going to split the video here. For those of you watching live, I'm just going to continue with the stream. But if you're watching on demand on YouTube, check out part 2. I hope you enjoyed part 1, which was basically my Street Fighter history. Thanks everyone who has supported in any way, whether it was liking the stream, liking the videos, leaving comments, membership, super chat, super sticker, super thanks, tips, everything so far. great today, and I really appreciate that, all right? Awesome.